I urge Ugandans not to mix up what they call a merger. A merger means you become one. In other words, one political party and another or others end up becoming one political party. That's what we call a merger. Then we have a coalition. A coalition can be before elections or after elections. I have my own experience with coalitions before elections. I'll not tire you with my experience because I've not come here to lament. I'm facing forward. Then there's an alliance. Then there is a cooperation. Cooperation is on specific areas. For instance, before we had the East African Community, we had East African Cooperation, which was a lower rank of what became the East African Community. Even before we created the East African Community, there was something known as the East African Common Services Organization. The East African Common Services Organization was about cooperating to have a common railway system. We had East African Railways, common air transportation, East African Airways, and East African Customs. So it is our duty not to overreact when people misunderstand this cooperation. That's why you have noticed that I've not been as tough as usually I am. Because the Norbert Mao, you know, would not just sit by and listen as people attack him and call him names. You know me better by now. I would at least release a few missiles. But I've decided that when people are speaking out of limited information, it is your duty to give information. So I have decided deliberately to spend time explaining to our leaders what really happened. But also, given the sensitivity of the matter, I have to tell you I'm very proud of the DP Management Committee. The DP Management Committee has 11 members. I chair the Management Committee as President. The Vice President, Honorable Mukasambide, is a member. The Secretary General, Dr. Gerard Siranda, is a member. The National Chairman, Dr. Mayambala, is a member. The National Treasurer, Honorable Babirye Kabanda, is a member. The National Legal Advisor, Omukungu Nalukola Luyimbazi, is a member. The National Organizing Secretary, Herbert Rutagwera, is a member. The President of the UYD, Ismail Kiria, is a member. The President of the Women's League, Aisha Nuriat Waligo, is a member. The National Publicity Secretary, Okoler Opio Loa Manu, who is right here, is a member. The Deputy Secretary General also sits in that meeting. Plus the Parliamentary Whip. Those are members. Now that organ meets every Wednesday. Every Wednesday. And the quorum is 4. But everybody gets notice. I want to assure you that I briefed the management committee, which is a constitutional body to do work on behalf of NEC. And I'm actually very proud of the management committee because nothing leaked for 1 full year. You know, Kampala, according to Binaisa, former president, is said to be a city of 7 hills and 7 rumors a day. The fact that nothing leaked is actually a surprise. I think DP leaders can actually manage government because they never leaked anything. I was very open to them. I even told them I'm in talks with President Museveni. And I gave them the reason. Number one, Uganda is at a turning point. When Uganda turns or changes, what will be the position of the Democratic Party? We have got a ruling party that has more or less fused itself with the government. Right now, no wonder when you are in government, people perceive it to be the same as joining NRM. I want to assure Ugandans, I will take that misunderstanding with all the kindness and charity because I know it is a reflection of the reality you see. Because wherever you go, the NRM members behave as if they are all in government. And yet the government is supposed to be composed of officials from a political party that has won elections to run the state. So now the state and the ruling party appear to be one. We have to disentangle. It is like thinking that Norbert Mao and DP are one and the same. Or the National Executive Committee being the same as the party. The two are separate. When the delegates meet, they may decide to elect a new team. They must find a party which is intact. Now in Uganda, because of our violent history, we have never seen peaceful change. So according to the agreement, the Democratic Party now has an opportunity to participate in government on the issues of peaceful presidential transition. It is there in the document, in those very words. Somebody asked me, are you sure those words are there? They are there. 2, national dialogue. National dialogue is different from our thing of iPod, where we are accused of taking tea and receiving bribes. This one is national. I don't think you can bribe 45 million Ugandans. We have many models of national dialogue. Why do we need a national dialogue? There was no Uganda before the colonialists came. Every community had their government. Buganda had its government. Bunyoro had its government. Toro had its government. Ankole had its government. Bagiso had a way they were governing themselves. The Acholi, the Lukbaras, the Karamojong. Then the British came and just fenced us all in. We could not even communicate to each other. That's why I'm talking to you in English. Because if I go to Elgon, I say, Kobango, they say, Makwa. And maybe we'll start a fight thinking it is an insult. We tried to find a formula to work together under the leadership of our former Prime Minister and party leader, Ben Kiwanuka. They gave Uganda the 1962 Constitution. The 1962 Constitution died in infancy. because it died when it was aged 4. You know, infant mortality is about how long a child lives before the age of 5. How many children die before the age of 5? So you could say Uganda's first constitution was a victim of infant mortality because it was not vaccinated against the killer diseases that kill infants. And then we went on through a season when there were no parties. We had a military dictatorship. Then we had a series of governments. Then the Bushmen came, led by President Yoweri Museveni. They chased everyone out of town and tried to patch up the country. Amidst a lot of resistance from rebel groups. Despite the challenges, they gave us a constitution, the 1995 constitution. And all Ugandans said, we are now happy. Finally, we know that a president can only lead for 10 years, then he or she goes. But that was not to be. They started removing the internal organs from the constitution. But that constitution does not belong to the NRM. It does not belong to the government. It is a people's constitution. The people must own the constitution. By the way, the fact that somebody is saying no to your demands does not mean your demands are wrong. You just have to insist. Like DP insisted on multipartyism. We insisted and insisted. Some of the people now with us in the opposition were saying multipartyism cannot work in Uganda. So the national dialogue is to allow the building blocks of Uganda to come together and craft a new consensus. How we can live together in peace. You can live in peace with even people you don't like. What are these building blocks? Our communities, traditional institutions. We have political parties. We have religious bodies. We have civil society. Even the diaspora. We cannot exclude the diaspora from the national dialogue. There are citizens in Uganda that are trusted. The other agenda which DP has to spearhead through the government is constitutional reforms. DP is a signatory of the Citizens' Compact on Free and Fair Elections. It is a rack of proposals that will deal with the biggest problem we face now, known as the crisis of legitimacy. We must solve that crisis of legitimacy. So how do I intend to work? Number one, for the DP leaders with all the good ideas, this is now your time for us to come up with recommendations. Fortunately, we have a lot of alternative policies on the issues of national dialogue, on presidential transition, on constitutional reforms. We have a lot of ideas on that. It is our duty to make those recommendations to the government. Being in government means that you no longer have to speak through the press conferences. You no longer have to go and shout on radio because you have the opportunity to talk to decision makers. It will be our duty to make recommendations to the President of Uganda to make sure we get his buy-in. The President of Uganda must be made to agree with the proposals. for them to work. I think this is DP's moment. To the members of the party who feel offended that I never consulted you one by one, I'll have the opportunity to explain myself. And I expect that you'll understand. Because I've done things before. I remember myself and the same Secretary General signed what is known as the agreement establishing the DP block. There wasn't as much noise. Perhaps because it was expected. Now, this one was not expected because many of the DP leaders I told thought it was impossible. Because President Museveni is not known for signing anything with the civilians. I know he signs with armed groups, those who are shooting at him. But what does Mao have? I don't even have a kitchen knife, a kambe. I don't even have it. I don't have an army. I only kept insisting that, Mr. President, I've been hearing you talking about the Bazukulu. How will you leave the Bazukulu? Because in every speech, he addresses the Bazukulu. I've never seen a grandfather who does not care about Bazukulu. So the Bazukulu are the ones who actually should support most this idea. Because in case there is a war, they are the ones going to fight it. In case the economy will be destroyed, they are the ones who will suffer. I am listening to the noise around the debate, but I'm focused more to those who are quiet. My two boys who are still in school, I think about them. I don't want them to grow up like me. I grew up at a time when, during Idi Amin's time, schools would be closed so that children can go and witness a firing squad. Can you imagine children the age of 7, 8, 9 going to see how the government is shooting people in public? I want a better Uganda for them. I know I will have grandchildren. What Uganda will they be in? This cooperation is a new trend for Uganda, but it's not a new trend in the world. So, those splitting hairs about this won't work, this will work, I welcome criticism. The media has decided that this is a controversial agreement. I accept. History is made through controversy. And the most controversial figure in history is the Lord Jesus I serve. Because he came and said very scandalous things. Love your enemy? How do you love your enemy? You destroy your enemy. That was very controversial. Give away your wealth. How? You should be hoarding. So I want to accept wholeheartedly that indeed this cooperation agreement is highly controversial. On Saturday, I was in Isingiro to welcome back the Vice President of the Democratic Party representing Western Uganda, now Alhaji Imam Makumbi. I told a little story which I want to repeat. A young boy went herding cows in the hills. He was bored, so he started shouting obscenities at the hill. You are very stupid. You are very ugly. I hate you. I'll kill you if I find you. And the hills gave him back the echoes. So he went to his mother and reported that behind the hills lived a very, very nasty boy who has threatened to kill him, who has called him all sorts of names. The mother understood that these were echoes. So the mother told him, go back tomorrow and shout different things. For instance, I love you, let's meet, let's be friends, I want to visit your home. Of course, when he shouted those very words, the echoes came back to him. So he went back to his mother and told the mother, Mom, that boy has completely changed. He told me he loves me. He told me he wants to meet me. He told me he wants to be my friend. And he told me that he wants me to visit him. The politics of Uganda is like that. We have been shouting at the NRM and we have been receiving the same echoes. When we threaten them, they threaten us even more. When we abuse them, they abuse us even more. So, we need to change. When I was a young boy, we did an experiment. There was a young lady who was extremely arrogant. She used to pass near our home after school. And she was quite beautiful, by the way. We tried to ignore her. Sometime when she's passing, we tried to jeer. Then we decided to change our strategy. So when she would be passing, we would say, we have never seen a more beautiful woman in the world. So of course, she would ignore her as she passes. The next time she passes, those are the best clothes we have ever seen. When she passes again, she really looks intelligent. And we persisted. In no time, the young lady started looking out for us. Whenever she's passing, one day we hid. And when she reached where we normally sat, she was looking around, waiting for the praises. That was a successful experiment in human nature. All the political parties have human beings. And we must learn how to deal with human beings. Most people ask me, how did you get this done? I got this done by putting all my cards on the table. DP remains intact as a political party. As a matter of fact, it is stronger. Our MPs, we protected them through the agreement. They will speak as DP and as MPs. And I, as president of the party, I'll continue leading my party to fight for its space in Uganda. In addition, we will also utilize the capacity of the government to achieve some of our goals. We have to redeem the time. DP has been in opposition since 1962. Now we hear those who joined yesterday are lecturing us about opposition. You hear them, farm opposition, farm opposition. When you are in opposition, it means you are opposing certain ideas. We are professors of opposition as a DP. We have PhD in opposition. Others are still in the kindergarten of opposition. So I call upon DP members to support this new trend. Why should they support it? Because it is good for Uganda. And Uganda is bigger than Norbert Mao. Uganda is bigger than President Museveni. Uganda is bigger than NRM. Uganda is bigger than DP. Uganda is bigger than any political party. Because without Uganda, the political parties are irrelevant. So I go into government to promote this agenda. I ask for the prayers of the nation to play my part and to give DP an opportunity to contribute to serving Ugandans at this critical moment. I am very optimistic. That is the difference. Many people are pessimistic. Actually, it is safe to be a pessimist. Because when you're a pessimist, you are covered. If a pessimist says, I think it is going to rain, it's going to be a bad day, and you tell him, no, it won't rain. So if it rains, the pessimist is proved right. If it doesn't rain, he is pleasantly surprised. Either way, the pessimists win. So those who are pessimistic about this agreement will say, it won't work. You can't trust President Museveni. He does not respect any agreement. So if indeed he does not respect it and it doesn't work, the pessimists will say, you see, we have been proved right. Now, if the thing works and we have a vibrant national dialogue, we have great constitutional reforms which will level the political playing field, and we have a smooth, peaceful presidential transition where the departing president and the incoming president are all at Kololo, then they'll say, I'm really surprised it has worked. Pleasantly, of course. So either way, the pessimist has their bread buttered on both sides. But we, the optimists, we give our all, believing that something good will happen. But I have the key to the door which brings me into the government. And that key can be used to open the door in order to enter. That key can also be used to open the door in order to exit. I'm not a prisoner, because the terms are very clear. So the next 4 years will be years of very hard work to achieve the agenda. It is comparable to gathering materials for building. So we are going to be gathering materials. I believe that 2026, we are likely to have an all-party government. I don't want to be a prophet, but it is possible. The new Uganda, with a level ground, a new constitution, people living in harmony, and clear political blocks where you are sure what you will get depending on how you vote, may come in 2031. So there is no need for anybody to try and do what the Baganda call okujule bitayide. Let us cook it properly. Let us not serve something which is not ready. I have got a lot of calls that have encouraged me. People are saying they see hope now. By the way, those criticizing this agreement are going to be the biggest beneficiaries of this agreement. You wait and see. In a very short time, you'll see that those who are insulting me are the biggest beneficiaries. But that is okay. Because they say the person who makes pots sometimes eats from the broken pieces of a pot. Those who don't know how to make pots are the ones who will get the beautiful pots. I want to give room for any questions in English. I'm afraid I'm not going to be responding to any questions about those in DP. It's my duty to talk to my people. I know each of them one by one. And I know what people say for the public consumption, and I know what people say when they mean it. You know, politics in many ways is a game. Yes, sir. You asked about what the Constitution says in the event of a cooperation. We are lawyers who drafted this agreement, and I can assure you that agreement does not conflict whatsoever with the Constitution. If it does, then you'll hear the speaker saying that now you have lost your seats. But when people don't have any issues, then they start fear-mongering. A lot of the people are behaving like, you know, Chicken Little. When we were in primary school, there was the story of Chicken Little. Some little, I think it was like a nut, hit the head of a chicken, and the chicken went around saying the sky has fallen. Whichever creature the chicken met, the sky has fallen, let's go and tell the king. So there was a convoy of people running around that the sky has fallen. The sky hasn't fallen in DP, and the sky hasn't fallen in Uganda. So, like I said the other day, when I was on a talk show with somebody, there was an accountant trying to give me legal advice. You know, it's like taking medical advice from Norbert Mao. You would be the biggest fool in the world. So, there are those who want a state of panic in our MPs. We stated clearly that this is a cooperation agreement. Actually, cooperation is the lowest level of togetherness. Then you move to alliance, coalition, and a merger. We understand the Constitution, and the lawyers we worked with, I won't mention all of them here, but definitely that was not an issue that was raised at all, and it won't be raised. On the question of conflict of interest, when I'm in DP, I'm talking about peaceful presidential transition, national dialogue, constitutional reforms. As Minister for Justice and Constitutional Affairs, I'm talking about the same things. So, what is the clash between that?
These are two entities, each serving different interests. You are going to serve in a government that has majority in parliament, has served for 36 years, and DP has been on the side trying to pull that government out. So that is what you will be saying, but the interest within the two entities inside.
I think I should ask you to give it the benefit of doubt, because when you read the agreement closely, we have our freedom to disagree. The right to disagree is there, but on a no surprises basis. For instance, I cannot be in the cabinet and pretend that I'm supporting something, and then I come to parliament and I denounce it. That would be crookedness. If I can't tell you to your face that I disagree with you, do you know how hard it is to negotiate with President Museveni? I want those who are yapping around to go and try it. Anyway, you are saying NRM and DP serve different interests. Now that is the biggest hoax. All these parties, have you heard people speaking when they are campaigning? We want you all to be rich. We want water here. We want justice. We want peace. Are those different interests? I think it is about method. That's where we differ. But for argument's sake, let me tell you that the political parties in Uganda are not disjoint sets. You studied mathematics. You know disjoint sets. It means one set is here, one set is here. I beg to differ. The parties in Uganda are not disjoint sets. We have intersections. Now, looking for that intersection is my job and the job of DP. The one thing that all parties must defend. Now, assuming we are invaded by another country, will you say that NRM and DP will be saying, we welcome the invaders because we don't like the government in power? I would be very surprised. I think we must learn from other countries. As you know, despite my young age of 55 only, I have been in this arena of politics for a very long time. And that's why sometimes people think I'm the same age with President Museveni. Because they have been reading about me from 1990 for so long. The Americans can fight in their country. They can disagree and call Joe Biden names and what. Once they are outside, you won't hear that. But for us, we seem to want to take every dirty linen and display it for the world to see. This is our country. Like I've said, we may have plan B, but we don't have a country B. So there's an intersection. I disagree totally with anybody who talks as if the parties don't have any common interest. I said the other day, of course, I have been attacked for saying it when I said other parties discuss money, for us we discuss ideas. That when other parties go to NRM, they go to talk about how to get money. For us, we go to talk about how to serve Ugandans. Now, the question from Uganda Radio Network, I don't want to speculate, but Uganda is in transition. The transition is not coming. The transition has started. And we have only done what is a catalyst. One day I was talking on TV and I talked about how hydrogen peroxide can become water. It can become water if you just leave it there, because hydrogen peroxide is one molecule, 2 molecules of hydrogen and 2 molecules of water. Oxygen, yeah, this is a scientist. So 1 molecule of oxygen can escape. But to speed up the chemical reaction, you put in a catalyst, potassium permanganate. So that's what DP has done. That's why you see everybody is running around. It is known as the shock doctrine. DP has applied the shock doctrine because you know when you are shocked, you can even move away from your home, even when you know where your home is. So this thing has shocked Ugandans. People are coming to terms with it. And they don't know how it has been done, but there it is. Deal with it and see how to benefit from it. So I don't think President Museveni has a right to appoint a president for Ugandans. I've been hearing a lot of people saying, oh, now this is going to be the next president, that one is going to be the next president, and so on and so forth. It is true. An aspiring president signed together with a sitting president. As to whether the aspiring president will ever become president, that one I don't know, and I don't care, frankly. Let me be the Moses who will not come to the promised land, but Uganda must go to the promised land. Let me remain this side, but I want to push you to go. Please go to the promised land. That's what my job is. So don't count me among those who are dying to be presidents. I'm not dying to be president, but I'm dying to see Uganda not wasting time in the Sinai desert of deception and confusion for 40 years. You know, the journey to the promised land is a journey of 11 days from the Sinai desert on foot. Why did it take 40 years? Confusion. 2026, the NRM will have been in Uganda as a government for 40 years. That is our Sinai desert. Ugandans don't care about what happens to nobody now, but go. Go to the promised land. Leave me in the desert. I don't have to cross with you. Yes, please. Birthday parties. I want to dissuade you. Separate birthday party from serious national issues. When anybody, whether by the name of General Muhoozi Kainerugaba, steps forward, it is up to Ugandans to decide that. So I'm not going to be talking academically. You are really asking me to talk about academics. And I will resist the temptation. I have a lot to say on that subject, but I've been advised that now I should be a bit careful. I shouldn't be talking too much about things that are academic, because my words are now heavier. I don't only speak as president of a party, but I also speak as somebody who is in the cabinet, which is an organ of government. And moreover, the portfolio I hold is the one that mediates. As you know, the judiciary is part of that ministry. And when the parliament is quarreling with the executive, it is the judiciary that mediates it. Now, to the question of the law, I'll start with the simplest. Does the president of the party enjoy the right to make a binding decision on behalf of the party? I've done it before, but this one has heightened the debate because the stakes are higher. This is now about state power. This is about serving in the cabinet. But previously, we signed the agreement establishing the DP bloc. I never heard anybody talking about it. So we have raised the stakes in Ugandan politics. I want to admit that. The stakes are now higher than ever because everybody has felt this agreement under their feet. It doesn't matter where you are located. That's why people who had been so quiet on Twitter are raging. And they are not small people. They are big people. They are raging because the stakes are higher. The president of the party is the chief executive officer. The chief executive officer is the one officer who can bind the party by his or her decision. Just so that you have even more evidence, that matter was even raised in court. And I will ask the National Publicity Secretary to share through the media pages a judgment. When we were having our usual battles, in 2020, you know that some members of the party went and held a meeting and appointed themselves leaders. You know, DP is the party of drama. So we went to court to have the court evict them. So they challenged us and said the lawyers that I had instructed, because I instructed a law firm, and they said the president has no power to instruct the law firm. So the judgment is very clear, and I think it is judges to interpret the law. Of course, in Uganda now, bloggers have become lawyers. They are giving legal opinion. I hear bloggers. And of course, our good journalists. They have all become constitutional experts. So, I want to tell you that that matter has been tested in court, and it has been resolved very clearly that maybe I should read it to you. Bring my phone. Just so that we leave this place when we are clear. I like to... Yeah, this is what the court said. Let me ask my publicity secretary to read it. You have heard my voice? Yes.
Determination. According to the Constitution of Democratic Party, the National Executive Committee is the directorate of the party, and in particular, its functions include B. To supervise the administrative machinery of the party at all levels and take such measures as it deems fit to enforce decisions and programs of the party. To do all other acts and things as it shall deem necessary for the efficient functioning of the party. The president shall be the chief executive as well as the chief spokesman of the party. According to Black's Law Dictionary, 11th edition, 2019, page 715, chief executive means the head of executive branch of a government such as the President of the United States, a corporate officer at the upper levels of management, it would appear that the President is vested with more powers than other officers on matters of management of the party in the day-to-day affairs of the party. This gives such officer leverage over other officers in binding the party. The National Executive Committee is supposed to be the overall organ of the party that would take any binding decisions on the party. Therefore, actions of the President, when executed in the course of his duties, would bind the party, or the party's National Executive Committee would have to ratify such actions or decisions.
Yes, it's clear. That's not DP, that's not even our constitution, but that's the interpretation. Now we come to the question of consultation. I have already told you that the moment we started this discussion with President Museveni, I called the whip of the parliamentary caucus, the Honorable Peter Okot, and I asked him that I would love him to convene the MPs. I have something delicate but important to share. So 4 of them turned up at Africana by the poolside. There was Honorable Richard Lumu, the MP for Mityana South. There was Honorable Geoffrey Okello, MP for Noya East, and the Honorable Okot Peter, MP for Tochi County, Omoro District, and later Honorable Sebamala Richard, MP Bukoto Central. I briefed the MPs about what was going on, in line with what we had agreed as part of our strategic plan. You know, after the 2021 elections, we met at a Sela Hotel to make our strategic plan. And we set 3 objectives. State power, winning power outright as DP. 2, sharing power substantively or substantially with any government in power. AGIP for brief, AGIP. Any. If it was a government headed by another party, we put it in our document as a strategic goal. 3, to lead the opposition and thereby be the main challenger to any incumbent government. We did our strategic planning as DP. It is there in black and white. Therefore, the discussion with President Museveni and the NRM must be seen in the context of DP's strategic objectives. We believe in what they call OST. O, objectives. S, strategy. T, tactics. Of course, people confuse the difference between strategy and tactics. I hear people say, so-and-so is very strategic, so-and-so is tactical. Basically, a strategy is how to solve the whole problem. Tactics is how to solve part of the problem. What we are doing can have strategic consequences, but it can also be tactical because it solves part of the bigger problem. So, DP set those strategic objectives. We met. We realized that basically we are on our own. NRM is shooting us. All the other opposition parties are on our neck. When we presented our Grand People's Coalition framework document to the opposition parties, they basically threw them at us. They don't want to commit. They want what they call a DHEI. And that is why I insisted to President Museveni that I don't want this DHEI of saying, let's work together, and then you work. Said, my party must have its key issues captured in the document so that our members can hold us accountable, so that Ugandans can hold us accountable. So I consulted the parliamentary group. I gave my smartphone in which the full original draft of the agreement was, I gave it to our MP, Honorable Richard Luma. I said, read. He's the deputy legal advisor. And I saw him swearing that he has never been consulted. Yeah, but now welcome to politics. Did I consult the management? You came late. Before you came, I'd already told the media here that I briefed fully the top leaders of the party. And even a handful. By the way, I even briefed other stakeholders who I want to mention here. But it is my duty as president of the party to take responsibility. I take the biggest responsibility. So if I'm to be hanged for this, it is okay, because it is me who committed my party. But I am seeing that slowly by slowly, members are beginning to appreciate that for once, they have somebody who they can talk to, and somebody who will continue being who he is. When I gave my speech in Isinjiro, people said, oh, why are you now telling the NRMs that DP has a share in NRM? I said, yes. All those who died in Luwero Triangle, the majority were DPs. The blood that was shed to bring NRM to power was largely DP blood. And the cause was DP's cause, because our votes were stolen. President Museveni didn't have any votes to be stolen. It is our votes which were stolen. So the way he claims that there can be no DP without President Museveni, there can also be no NRM without DP. Because DP was part and parcel of that struggle which brought NRM. And that is why our top leaders joined the NRM government. Now when I listen to questions from this gentleman here of conflict of interest, why were those questions not asked in 1986? You can see that they are debating Mao. They are not debating what we have done. Why is it that when it comes to Mao, somehow they want the facts to be different? Ladies and gentlemen, you are entitled to your own opinions, but no, you are not entitled to your own facts. There was no question of conflict of interest when our former leaders served in the... I've seen a video going around with members of the DP National Executive Committee taking oath as ministers. You intelligent people have not talked about the conflict of interest. If I win election and become president of Uganda, I'll at the same time be president general of DP. Will that be conflict of interest? So I really think that let's raise the level of debate and think about the Bazukulu. All of you are going to have children. Those of you who are not ready have, and I hope those who don't, you are working on it. And please work hard, because the Uganda we are building will be wonderful. It will be united, it will be democratic, it will be peaceful, it will be prosperous. We just found the biggest deposits for graphite in Karamoja. It is the biggest deposit in the world. And you know, because of climate change, the world now is going to electric cars. Uganda will be the biggest supplier of the graphite needed for batteries to run electric cars. This country is going to be rich and powerful. Don't miss the chance to make your contribution to it. You have already asked.
Haya.